Bad Old School Radio Serial Podcast, brought to you by 10th Rule Books, pulp fiction that skips the boring parts. This week's episode is Camp Hendrix Part 1 by Bodie Myers. Enjoy. Dear Camp Leader, first apologies for not knowing your name. Swinging that modified weed whacker at my head made formal introductions difficult. Nice touch replacing the string with barbed wire. Also apologies for the incident with your wife. The reason for this correspondence, and I hope you recognize the risk taken to deliver this message, is that my camp we have made an important discovery, which will benefit both of us. Lest you think this is a con, let me assure you my motives in sharing this with you are not altruistic in the least. We would very much like to no longer be seen as a food source for your camp. And I'm sure, given the inherent dangers of our new world, the good people in your camp would like to cross being captured and eaten by the other survivor camp. That would be us. Off the list of hazards. The point is, the dead are in fact edible. There are limits, of course. Those biters whose flesh has started to rot are probably inedible for the same reason any other rotting meat is. The maggot faces should be strictly off limits for obvious reasons. However, a reasonably fresh member of the newly risen dead is not only edible, but when prepared properly, delicious. Of course, if I were reading a missive sent by you, I would assume not only is this bullshit, but bullshit with nefarious intent. I assure you it is not. We had a suitable test subject to try the dead pork, and not only did he suffer no ill effects, but he seemed to enjoy the meal. Honestly, we had not fed him in a while, and did not tell him he was feasting on scorched zombie flesh. Before you think less of us, though considering what you did to Sand, I don't think you're in position to judge my morals too harshly. I must say the lab rat for this little experiment seriously suffered from a case of the short eyes. If he became infected and turned, or just died from food poisoning, no one would have been upset. Actually, more than one member of our camp was hoping to watch him die from the dry heaves. Honestly, if certain members of our group were not of a religious bent, interesting how a hell on earth convinces one to believe or not believe in equal measure, we would have already barbecued the sick son of a bitch. The urges must be strong, because while avoiding ravenous hordes of the risen dead and fellow cannibals, not to mention those blue things, which as it turns out, are not edible, one would think one could put such appropriate behavior on hold. He actually had a zombie child hidden away for the special touch. Had we caught him with a living kid, even the most devout would have gladly eaten Italian that evening. The father did not become infected. Other than some horrific gas, he was fine. Anyway, we caught a fresh-looking one, and after the obligatory head bashing, cooked him on a spit over some hot coals. After seasoning him as best we could, we managed to scrounge up salt, plus some rosemary, basil, and chives. We served him medium rare. We decided to put an apple in his mouth would be a waste of an apple. I don't know about you, but I found when serving up the long pork, this is the ideal finish. Though most prefer medium or even medium well, or as I call it, burnt. On the off chance somehow child diddlers have some immunity to dead pork, we fed another batch to some newcomers who were still on the fence as to whether or not to eat. They did not only die, but declared the experience quite satisfying, even poetic, since they had more than one loved one become a meal for the undead. And a little constipation, we saw no ill effects. Finally, we all begun feasting on the dead pork. And let me tell you, if you manage to secure some pepper, basil, garlic, and maybe some lemon juice, it is simply delectable. If you desire a recipe, leave a note on the barbed wire by the north gate. We will be experimenting with some undead further along in the process, at least until something kills Father Chester the molester, and we'll let you know the results. Since fresh zombies are the toughest to find, being able to eat some of the other, more further along walking corpses would be advantageous. Please enjoy this information. If you don't trust me, I'm sure you have some less than desirables in your camp you could serve as taste testers. And stop trying to eat us. If the raids cease, we will quit abducting and eating your people as well. Sincerely, Captain Rama, or Noodles as my friends call me, and the good people of Camp Haven. Dear Noodles, fuck off. You ate my wife, the mother of my children, God rest their souls. My intel is correct, you cooked her with curry and you scrounged up and called it Thai night. By the way, my wife was Chinese. There's still a God, I will rape you to death with a baseball bat before I leave this hellhole our planet has become. Unless you're surrendering, don't send any more notes. Fuck you, James. I don't need to give myself some bullshit title like Captain. P.S. Fuck you. James. I believe it made me clear my friends call me Noodles. While I'm a very tolerant soul by nature, I do not believe I can refer to a person who has expressed a desire to sodomize me to death with a bat, a friend. Please refer to me as Captain Rama in the future. I believe I already apologized for the incident with your wife. While I understand not long ago using one's spouse to make a stir-fry, delicious by the way, would be a social faux pas of the highest order. The world has changed drastically. Sadly, we have long passed the time when cannibalism would be unacceptable. I must also point out that the reference to tie night was not in regards to your bride's ethnicity, but the spices and methodology we use to prepare. I may be a lot of things, but I am not a racist. I'd also like to point out your desire to kill me through anal sex is disturbing. It may reveal a little bit of latent homosexuality in this new world, where we all have lost loved ones. I, for one, killed and ate my beloved dog, Chuckles. I married him overnight in some Jamaican jerk sauce and grilled poor Chuckles on skewers with pineapple and onions. Perhaps your overly enthusiastic protest over her passing is just a bit of overcompensation. Personally, I have no problem with fags. I feel you should perhaps accept yourself for who you are. Finally, let me address my title, which you clumsily tried to mock in your letter. The term captain was both my rank during my time in the ROTC, as well as a term of endearment my friends and neighbors called me before everything went to hell. While such things lost meaning in our new world, I, for one, still view my title with a sense of pride. That an angry, closeted cocksucker such as yourself no longer respects those that served this great country is unfortunate, albeit understandable. I have been nothing but respectable in my correspondence with you and expect the same courtesy in return. Now, to the reason I risked sending a runner out past the walls to deliver this note. Have you tried the dead pork yet? Our further experiments have gone well. It was not until we fed Father Chester Molester, an undead with nearly green skin, that he fell ill. He suffered a serious case of the squirts. I doubt there's such a thing as a whimsical case of the squirts, but after a nasty case of the chills, he survived it. Could be the greenies just need to be cooked more thoroughly. The Reverend Inappropriate Touch liked his meat medium rare. Please take my advice and give the undead a try. This way unfortunate incidents as the aforementioned tie night can be avoided in the future. Sincerely, Captain Rama. P.S. Despite your rancor, I still forgive you for slicing up the rim of my hat. That Stetson and I have been through a lot together, and having it damaged was as traumatic as having a beloved but inanimate object can be. Noodles. What part of fuck off do you not understand? What part of don't write is beyond your comprehension? Just to be clear, you homophobic prick, do not correspond with me unless you are surrendering, so I can cut off your little balls and feed them to you. Just to be clear, my intention to mutilate you and rape you to death with an object comes from pure hatred and not some latent desire to make love to another man. And in case your tiny brain missed the message the first time around, fuck you, as in F-U-C-K-Y-O-U. Fuck you. I do not know why I'm telling you this, but except for a few isolated incidents, my camp does not eat people. Those incidents were unfortunate, and frankly, my anger at the atrocities committed by your camp got the best of me. We are managing to feed ourselves without preying on our fellow humans, though for you we might make an exception. So you know all the things out there currently seeing the human race as a food source, the last thing we as a species need to do is hunt each other. We should be banding together, which is why I sent ambassadors to your camp in the first place. The fact is, if you had not sent a raiding party over to steal from us, we would have never had any members of your camp to eat. The sight of your thieves with their bellies full of the woman I loved got the best of my temper. This may be impossible for an asshole such as you to understand, but everyone involved regretted the incident. This, by the way, is an explanation and not an apology. Do I regret feasting on my fellow human beings? Yes. However, since they were your men, I am not sorry they died feeding my camp. I think fondly of your friend Sand every time I fart. Why am I bothering to justify my actions with a sociopathic murdering asshole such as yourself is a mystery to me, so I will stop. Please fuck yourself with a spoon, James. P.S. I'm glad I ruined your stupid hat. P.S.S. Fuck you. Thank you for listening to 10th Rule Books' Big Bad Old School Radio Serial Podcast. Brought to you by 10th Rule Books, bringing you pulp fiction that skips the boring parts. You can find our titles on Amazon right now, such as Double Tap, 2 Shots of California Noir, featuring stories by Todd Moore and Christopher Davis. Only 99 cents on Kindle. And Hell by Bodie Myers, also only 99 cents by Kindle. If you prefer the old school Dead Trees and Paper Route, both are under $7 on Amazon right now. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook at 10th Rule Books. Thanks again. See you next week with more Camp Hendrix.